Hey everybody, JJ here, back again with another Wednesday of Zoom networking. I am really excited about today's guest speaker. Oh my God, OMG. This young lady is out of Pace Morby Sub 2 community, and you've heard me probably mention Pace many times. He is the just genius of creative finance. He didn't invent it, as he says, he's just kind of mastered it. Pace Morby Sub 2 community is the premier real estate education platform in the country, bar none. Throw them onto the mix. It's the best. The young lady that we have today is out of the Sub 2 community. She started as a real estate student, an entrepreneur. She's a mom, wife, runs a family and a business at the same time. So, that's twice as challenging as most what the guys are doing. But she's now getting the coaching and entrepreneur, businesswoman, my good friend, Christine LaBounty. Christine, how are you today?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm great. I'm thrilled that you're here. Let me tell you.
Fantastic. Well, I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me on. I am very passionate about this topic, about marketing and branding in general. So I'm excited to kind of impart what I've learned along the way and hopefully bring some value to everyone in attendance.
Oh, I'm sure you will, and as well to our YouTube community. For those that don't know you, where in the country are you located?
I am located in San Diego, California.
And you're a Southern California girl through and through, right? Pretty much?
Yes. Well, actually, I was born in Ohio, and we lived in Connecticut until I was about 5 or 6. And then we made the transition out here to California. I actually grew up in the Los Angeles area, but I've been in San Diego now for about 10 years. I love it. I know, you're probably a little biased, as am I, but I feel like San Diego is kind of like the slightly slower paced, more down to earth version, kid sister of Los Angeles. So I love it here, but I did call LA home, for 20 plus years. So I know the area very well, as well.
There you go. Yeah, I myself was born in Chicago. I
Oh,
moved to
okay.
California the year I turned, I think 6 is when we moved to
Oh,
LA.
similar schedule then.
Yeah, similar schedule. So you've now made quite an impact in the real estate community that I'm a part of. I'm always looking for guest speakers and I'm talking to my friends and who should I get? And your name just started popping up all over the place. Just all over the place. I said, who is this? Christine LaBounty. And so I, asked and looked and saw some of the things you're on social media with. I said, gotta lock her in, gotta lock her in. So before you got into real estate, though, I mean, is it something that you've done all the way through, or were you doing this in high school, college? Or what was your progression before you got into real estate?
Great question. So no, I've actually been in real estate for 7 years now. But to give you a little context and background, I actually come from the marketing PR realm. So growing up in Los Angeles, I had the benefit of having a dad who was an exec at several corporate companies in Los Angeles. So more of the traditional corporate realm. And then I had a mom who her background was also the exec. She was a VP of sales for a long time in the corporate world, but she got into real estate when my brother and I were younger as kind of a second career, which is many of us, right? Regardless of what kind of sector of real estate you enter, it's oftentimes a second, third, fourth career. And so I had the benefit of watching, a parent that was in the more traditional corporate world versus a parent that had kind of that entrepreneurial, I'm going to start my own business and grow it from there and see where it takes me kind of realm as well. And so it gave me a really nice kind of parallel of each. But as I entered high school, my dad was very business minded. And he said, you know what, I'm going to stick you in an internship at some of my companies. You're going to spend your summers working Monday through Friday instead of spending, Southern California beach summers where all my friends were. And so he really embedded in me at an early age, kind of that business acumen. And the benefit of that is that I had the opportunity to explore different elements and areas of the business. So I spent time in product development, HR, sales. And what I kept coming back to was the marketing department. And in the corporate world, for those that aren't familiar, marketing tends to kind of encompass not only your traditional marketing, but also advertising, PR, special events, promotions. They all kind of wrap up usually within that department. Sales oftentimes sits with marketing. And I just found that area of the business always really fascinating. I loved learning about the client, the customers, how the business or the brand was marketing its product or service towards the customers. And so that really at an early age, at age 15, when I started those internships, I really started paying very close attention to what that entailed. And when I went off to college, I ended up getting a degree in business marketing, with a minor in both psychology and English. I was outrageously introverted when I was young. And so English gave me the opportunity, writing, to effectively communicate all my thoughts onto a paper in a manner that I wasn't always able to when I was face to face with somebody and overwhelmed and whatnot in a large group. So that, coupled with the psychology, really fed the knowledge I was gaining as a business marketing degree. Right? Again, the psychology behind people, who people are, why they think the way they do, how our experiences, shape the way that we think, and then how to kind of effectively, again, communicate, brand, relate, connect with people. And so I came out of college just with all of these ideas in my head of things I wanted to do and wanted to pursue. But when I graduated, it was 2009, 2010. And if anybody remembers that period of time, we were in the throes of the Great Recession. And me and my fellow classmates were just anxious to get a job anywhere. And fortunately, because my business-minded father had been really diligent about keeping me in internships during summers in high school, I also got internships throughout college. Every single summer, I was at a different company working the marketing and PR departments. And so I was able to get a job right out of college with a large billion-dollar company in Los Angeles called Guess Inc. And for those of you that may or may not know, Guess is what we now know is like the denim company, but their world headquarters are stationed in downtown LA, and they brought me on to their marketing and PR team. And the thing that I learned about Guess, and I'm not going to spend too much time on that because it's fashion. I know we're here to talk about real estate, but this does relate. I was brought on, and for those that don't know the history of Guess, Guess is an iconic branding company. The company got its start because these brothers came over from Europe and took what the denim industry, which here in the States at the time in 1981 was primarily kind of a workman's wear piece of clothing. And they kind of structured it and branded it, created what became, they called it the Marilyn. It was like a skinny fit, sexy version of denim that was supposed to celebrate women's bodies. And they sold 14 pairs of it to Bloomingdale's. It flew off the shelves in hours. And that was the launch of the brand here. And what they would later come to do, in addition to revolutionizing the denim market here in the States, they created a very powerful marketing and advertising brand behind their company. And they would go on to find all of the top supermodels, usually got their start in Guess. And they created this powerhouse brand behind it. It exploded. They poured the majority of their money into advertising and marketing dollars because they recognized that it wasn't enough just to have an incredible product that people wanted. You had to actually create a brand around it, right? Create something that was relatable, memorable, recognizable, and that had staying power. And I learned a lot of really incredible insights from that experience. I was brought on to basically, I would fly around the country and I would go into the retail locations and we would host these loyalty events and create an experience for our best customers. And I would have to identify, okay, how am I going to effectively translate the brand from the clothes and the ads to an experience in the store and speak to our customers and ensure that they feel, everything that we're trying to convey as a brand. And so I did that for years. I ended up doing that domestically for several years. I went abroad. They sent me to start up a marketing department at a licensee out in Sydney, Australia.
Wow.
And then I came back and decided I'm done with Los Angeles, and I did not want to leave Southern California. So I came down to what I consider the next best thing, which was San Diego. And that's how I kind of found my home here in San Diego. And then over the next couple of years, I kind of migrated from marketing. I then got into tech marketing, sales.
Now, what kind of tech marketing did you get into?
I worked for a company called Teradata that does data analytics, but I was in their marketing department. So we did data analytics specifically for large corporation marketing departments that they would then use to kind of tailor their sales approach in the different tech industries that we had on as clients.
Cool.
And all this time, my mom, who had been very heavy into real estate, was very successful in real estate, was still continuing to be very successful in real estate, was kind of planting all these little seeds about, entrepreneurship and going out on your own and real estate and da-da-da. And so she started to kind of perk my interest as I was working for these tech giants here in San Diego. And I finally decided, you know what? I think I want to go into real estate. And so I dove headfirst and I became an agent, which I still am today. And so that was really how I made the leap. I decided I was tired working for somebody else and I wanted to put my skill set and background to use in the real estate realm. And I never looked back. I jumped into real estate, but I brought with me this, knowledge base of the importance of, okay, now I'm starting from square one. Now I have to start thinking like an entrepreneur, a business owner. I have nobody telling me what to do. I have nobody handing me business. Now I need to go out and create it. And that's where I was able to leverage the power of marketing and branding to set myself apart, to identify my customer base, and figure out how do I get in front of them? How do I market myself to them? How do I create an experience so that they only come to me for all things real estate? And I've been applying it ever since. I built my business off the backs of social media and marketing. And I started having people reach out to me, asking me questions, asking me to mentor them, asking for advice. And it's kind of rolled itself into what it is today. And then along the way, about a year ago, I, through another realtor, discovered PACE and the Sub-2 community, and began expanding my knowledge on investments and everything that PACE does. I got into Gator lending. I got into private money lending. I became a buyer.
I wanted to ask you about PACE. Okay. How did, and you said another investment, how did you get introduced to Sub-2? I mean, we've all come in through different venues. Was it somebody personally? Was it an acquaintance? Had you heard about him for a while? What was your foray into Sub-2 and PACE Morby?
Yeah, so it's a great question. I had not heard of him until somebody put his name on my radar. As I mentioned, I was running a really profitable, successful group here in San Diego. I had a lot of success and I kind of had this like analysis paralysis of what do I do with the success and, the capital that I've grown over the years through my real estate business. I knew I wanted to start thinking like an investor. I was working with a lot of investors at the time, and I still am. As my real estate business grew, not only do I work with private buyers and sellers in the traditional sense, but I started taking on investor clients. I started working with wholesalers, fix and flippers here. It was huge in San Diego over the last few years. And so I started understanding that side of the business and what it meant to work with, community members like yourself that are doing wholesaling and fix and flipping and investing and creative finance and whatnot. And I started asking like, gosh, I need to learn more about this. I was just eating it up. But here in Southern California, as you well know, it's not always the best place to invest your money when it comes to acquiring a rental portfolio or doing many of the things that our community does. And so I started kind of really putting out feelers and figuring out like, okay, how am I going to learn this in the best way possible? And a colleague of mine and friend from college who was up in NorCal had joined the community and had started posting on social media a lot of what Pace was teaching, a lot of the principles. He himself started acquiring properties and he was posting about it. He kept referencing creative financing and subject to. And I was sitting there like, what is this subject to? Who is this guy, Pace Morby?
Who is this guy?
So I ended up getting on a call with this fellow sub 2 member, and he spent like 2 hours just like brain dumping everything he had learned from Pace. And he's like, just go to his Instagram. And he kept saying, just go to his Instagram, just go to his YouTube, just go watch him for like an hour one day. And like many of us, I turned on one video of Pace's and it was like a fire hose of information. And, Pace just has that personality that you just instantly know, like, and trust him. And I think within like 2 days, I was signed up for the sub 2 mentorship. I did not waste any time diving right in.
Now, when you got into sub 2, as we know, there's a fire hose of information. The community's been around now, I think 2.5 years. It's a relatively new community, which has grown and grown and grown. With your marketing background, jumping into sub 2, and today we're talking about branding. How does branding impact? Well, we know how it's impacted for your business and your success. But if we have new investors on the call, whether they're new or experienced, or people watching on YouTube, whether they're new or experienced, I'll talk for a bit about the impact of branding. How does one implement branding? How does one implement that aspect of marketing towards a real estate business?
Great question. A few different ways, right? And we talked about this. I went to the sub 2 mastermind in November, and Pace put me on a panel with Investor Girl Brit, which I was so excited to even have that platform. And we talked about this. And we talked about the importance of establishing a brand for yourself, regardless of what role within the community you decide you're going to hold, whether you're going to wholesale, whether you're going to fix and flip, be a gator lender, private money lender, whatever it is, operator, buyer, seller, transaction coordinator. The community has grown exponentially. There are tons of us, and there are tons of us that are doing similar things, right? There's a whole community of transaction coordinators. There's a whole community of gator lenders. There's a whole community of buyer, sellers, acquisition reps, you name it. And so what's important in this community, and I think this is where it becomes extremely relatable, is identifying, okay, what is my avatar? What is it that I want to do? What is my intention for being a part of, whether it's that community or any investment community or any role that you decide to take on within real estate? Identifying what is my intention? What is my goal? And then how do I brand myself to make sure that I'm aligning myself with the right people that are either going to consume my product or service, or that can potentially partner with me, and help me achieve my short and long-term goals, right? So let's take being a gator lender as an example. There's thousands of gator lenders. That program exploded sub 2. And what I saw, because I am a part of that community as well, is a lot of people got in there and they said, well, there's so many of us. How do I set myself apart? How do I get a deal? And what I saw very quickly are the people that were able to set themselves apart, brand themselves, and align themselves with the right partners were the ones that started seeing immediate success very quickly. Figuring out, okay, how can I set myself apart? And maybe that means that you're identifying yourself as, creating an experience for whomever it is that you're going to partner with to say, hey, look, I can fund quickly. I'm thorough, I'm detailed, I'm communicative. Here's the experience that you're going to have with me as your Gator lender. Here's the experience you're going to have with me as your wholesaler, right? And you start building a brand around that and then pushing that out to the people that you're trying to either align yourself with or for, or what have you. One of and this is where we talked about branding, where you can use branding to really set yourself apart and create kind of like a unique experience amidst your competition. For example, we were at Mastermind and I was sitting on the panel and we started talking about a few of the students there. And I used an example of one of the students that I had had the opportunity to network with the night before at one of the dinners. In the course of just getting to know him on a personal level, it came out, and I won't mention his name. Some of my mastermind students are going to know who I'm talking about. It came out that he had this really incredible previous career of rapping, and not like rapping in your hairbrush in your shower rapping. I mean, he actually wrote songs or wrote raps. He produced them. He had music videos. He had a whole like style and like vibe going on. He performed. He showed me these incredible videos. He was on iTunes. I mean, it was incredible. And I was sitting there the next day and we're talking about branding with Pace. And I kind of put him on the spot. And I said, mastermind student, I was like, that is an incredible opportunity for you to brand that. I mean, you should start making raps about sub-2, about wholesaling, about fix and flipping, whatever it is that you're doing within the community, you should start doing that, putting that on social media, creating brand awareness for yourself, like dropping that into conversations that you're having when you're trying to do business with other sub-2 members or people out in the community. That's a very memorable, recognizable, and impressive background. It's fun, it's cool, it's relatable. Like, who doesn't like rap music? And it's an opportunity for you to set yourself apart. I am never going to forget that mastermind student and his raps. I mean, I even told him, I'm like, how do I hire you to create like a cool like rap song for like my business and my clients that I can like implement, right? And it's funny because I just was messaging him on Instagram the other day because there's a realtor rapper that is like blown up on social media. And I forwarded his account to this sub-2 student. And I was like, this is what I was envisioning for you. This is what I'm talking about. You need to get on this, right? Same thing. We had another mastermind student that was really into photography and snowboarding. And he had this really incredible Instagram of all these beautiful photographs of both himself and friends, colleagues of him, snowboarding and doing all these tricks. And then he would edit the photos so you could see like a timeline of the flip happening in one shot. I mean, really incredible things. And I'm like, again, you should be using your photography skills, and apply them to what it is that you're doing, whether it's featuring your flips, your wholesale deals, edit in a sub-2 contract in the snowboard image that you have in posting, because he has this whole following around him, tie that in and create a brand around that. And so again, it's about creating awareness for yourself, setting yourself apart, making yourself somebody that people want and are excited to work with. People, especially in, today's culture, especially coming out of COVID, where, we were kind of locked in our houses for a couple of years with no social interaction. People want to engage. They want to consume the content. They want to consume what you're feeding them. They want things that are new and cool and interesting. People want that. And so if you're able to create that for yourself, that the opportunities that will follow will be endless.
For someone who's a rapper or an entertainer, artist, someone who has a recognizable skill, it can be relatively, I'm not going to say easy, because how do you transition that to real estate? But they've got something to work with. They're already a little bit outgoing in some regard or another, whether it's photography, whether it's an athlete, whether it's music, maybe an actor or something in that nature. They're already kind of out there. But how about the person that's newer? Maybe a new student, maybe a little bit more introverted. They haven't been there. Is there something you would recommend for the person that's starting or beginning to get going?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, I think similar to, for example, when I got into real estate, right? I was in San Diego, I was in a new city. I didn't go to school here. I didn't have family here. I didn't have a lot of the ways that a lot of people get started in business, right? I was in a new market with nobody I knew, and I had to start from the ground up. So what did I do? I figured out a way to say, okay, I'm my brand. I need to go out and create a brand for myself. And I started putting myself out there. I started networking like crazy. I added everyone I met, including like baristas and Starbucks. I would chat them up. I would pick the same time every single day that I would go like to Starbucks, or I would go to the gym, or I was consistent, right? And I started meeting and introducing myself to the people that were in those spaces around me. I would add them on social media, because social media is the calling card of 2023, right? We don't have business cards anymore. The first thing people do when they meet you and you walk away, they're going to Google you. They're going to see exactly who you are, what you're doing, what your interests are, and they're going to decide really quickly whether or not you're somebody that they want to align themselves with. So doing that. So somebody new to the community, I would say, get in every room possible, meet as many people as possible, add them to your social media, and start building your social media and your brand. That's going to be the most inexpensive way for you to market yourself, right? And start showing people what it would be like to work with you, who you are, do you do, what experience do you provide? And then you grow from that, right? I've done some private money lending in the group. And for example, I can tell there's a very big difference between the way that people reach out to me. And I can usually get a sense of whether or not there's somebody I want to work with very quickly. I'll have people that will shoot me a text that say, hey, I need $150,000 by tomorrow at 3. I'm a sub-2 member. Can you lend to me? And then I have people that shoot me an email with a presentation deck of a property that they're trying to acquire, fix and flip. It's detailed. It has photos. It has comps. It is this, that, and the other. It has exit strategies. And I can tell that they've put thought into it, that they're taking it seriously. They're detailed, and they're presenting themselves. They're selling themselves to me. Now that's somebody that I'm going to take a conversation with, right? Yeah. They're creating an experience. They're giving me insight into the experience of what it would be like to be their private money lender, or what it would be like to be their buyer and buy from them, right? So it's thinking about all of those little things and being very intentional with everything that you're doing, and making sure that it's reflective of the image and the brand that you want to convey.
You talk about social media, and obviously it's I'll just say the big thing that we're all doing. We didn't have, as I said earlier before the call, I didn't grow up with computers. I did my term papers on a typewriter, but now computers are commonplace. Social media is commonplace. Facebook is commonplace. There's a multitude of programs out there for the new investor who's starting to get into learning how to market and brand themselves. Do you recommend one or two? We hear about Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok and all these other things. I mean, is it best to start with one or two, or what's your perspective for the new investor?
It's a great question. Each platform can bring forth different value. I will be totally honest. The two platforms that I used the most for years was Facebook and Instagram, because with my business, I was really focused on my sphere and then growing my database from my sphere. Since Mastermind November, Pace really is pushing YouTube channels and Google algorithms, which are tied to both YouTube, and actually TikTok is tied to the Google algorithms as well. So you really should be on there also. But I think if you're really trying to pour everything into it, I think eventually you want to get each of those up and running, because they're each going to serve a different purpose, right? Your Instagram and especially your Facebook are probably going to be how you're in touch with like the closest community to you. Although I will say I get sub-2 friend requests left and right. So now I probably have, hundreds of sub-2 members that are friends on Facebook and Instagram. I see, especially Facebook, as a little more intimate of like of a platform, but certainly one that you can and should use. Instagram is fantastic. I love Instagram. That's the one I'm definitely the most active on and where I've seen the most success, because it's really just like pictures and videos. And I'm a very visual person. I have a photographic memory. So for me, that's the social media platform that works best for me. But I have started putting things on TikTok. I have created a YouTube channel, and that is more to reach kind of outside of my database. And hopefully eventually, as I start putting more content on like YouTube, for example, my hope is that it will start translating into clientele finding me that are moving into the area or that are in the surrounding market that will then start, using me as, a point of reference and leveraging and using my services down the road, right, via Google. But I would say at the end of the day, it's the platform that you're going to use the most. Right. So pick the platform. If you're not on social media much at all, pick a platform that interests you the most, right? Because that's going to be the one that you do it. It's kind of the same answer that I give when people are like, well, which CRM should I pick? Pick the one that you're going to use, right? Same thing with social media. Get your feet wet. It can be overwhelming at first, but there are so many YouTube videos. I mean, you can YouTube a video for absolutely anything on the planet. And so, sometimes it's a matter of just going to YouTube and typing in, how do I start a social, an Instagram profile? How do I write my bio for Instagram? What should I put on there? Now we have bots that are creating content left and right that you can leverage for ideas on what to post, and how to post and the different categories to post and when to post. I mean, there's so much information out there on the internet. Pick one and then recognize the opportunity to repurpose that content across the platforms, right? If you go to any one of my platforms in some capacity, I have repurposed a video. I've either posted this exact same video or I've tailored it down, edited, cropped it, pulled out portions of it and put it on all of the other sites. Pace does a really great job of that. For example, he'll get on these Zooms and he'll give these talks and speeches and be on podcasts. And then if you notice, he'll have his team, take little clips of each and he'll put them on all his different social media platforms, right? As long as you're dropping cool, interesting nuggets, you can repurpose the same video or the same photo a million different ways. So I would say just pick one that you're excited about and get started. And then as you get more comfortable and confidence with it, start adding on the different platforms, because you never know where an opportunity is going to come from.
Exactly. Jimmer, you are on with Christine LaBounty. What's your question?
My question is, always in my past, I've always put marketing with money. Money, it's going to cost me to market a real lot. What are some ideas you would have on ways to start? You said Facebook, you said some other things that wouldn't cost a lot of money. And the other question is, if you're a bozo like me and you got not an ounce of creativity in your body, are there people you can go to the outside to hire? Or, because I could probably watch 10,000 reels and I probably could hardly come up with a few for myself. But do you have any suggestions how to gradually start that ball rolling down the road?
Yeah, I think you're in the same boat as a lot of people. So I would do a couple of things. You're absolutely right. I think social media is going to be one of the more expensive ways of marketing yourself. You're not having to send out mailers. You're not having to go spend tons of dollars on a whole marketing team. Social media is something that you can do from the comfort of your own home. You can do it and be as involved in it as you want. As I mentioned, in terms of figuring out what to post and how to post it, like the chat GPT and the bots will give you content all day long. I mean, you can literally go to those sites and type in wholesaling topics for social media, and you will have like a list of like 100 that it will spit back out at you. And then you can literally have it create scripts for you, and you can literally do like a selfie and I don't know, what specific kind of sector of real estate that you're in, but let's say that you're a fix and flipper. You could literally, get some content ideas from like one of those sites and get a selfie stick or just hold the phone up yourself. You don't have to overthink it, and you can film yourself going around your fix and flip, and maybe you do before and afters. Maybe you talk about, oh, today a pipe burst and and this is how we had to fix it. Right. And kind of start building awareness for yourself as a go-to in that realm, someone that people can like go to for information on, or somebody that people will want to go to partner with, do deals with, sell deals to, what have you. The other suggestion that I have for people on social media that are kind of clueless is find accounts that are doing what you want to do, right? So I have probably 5 real estate agents that I follow. I follow a lot of real estate agents on social media because I'm always getting really great ideas from them. But there are probably 4 or 5 that I just like love, right? I think all their content's wonderful. They're like very aligned with the brand that I'm trying to portray. And I go to their profiles and they're celebrities. They don't really care what I'm doing. So, I will literally sometimes go to their accounts. And for example, if I need like music suggestions, I will literally go and look through some of their past like reels and whatnot. And like, if they used a song that I'm like, oh, that would be very applicable to me and my business, I'll save it. And you can save post in Instagram, for example, there's a tag that you can do and you can save them. And so sometimes I'll just literally, if I have like an hour to kill, if I'm at the doctor's office and I'm waiting for him to come in, or I'll get on Instagram and I'll just go to some of my favorite accounts and I'll start saving either posts that I like that are giving off information and education that I think would be really interesting to my audience, or maybe they just used a song I like, or maybe they have a format or a tour or some sort of cinematography that I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I'll do that. There are apps for everything. So sometimes I create video reels that literally all I did is I went to an app, I downloaded off the app store, and it had like 11 slots for videos. And I just like boom, 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 put my videos in and it creates a reel for me. And I post it and it looks like I spent 4 hours on it and I spent maybe 4 minutes, right? So there are the resources out there. It's just finding what those are, saving them, going back to them. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll get.
Yeah, I'm sure that would be, but the question that came to my mind, it was that, have you ever in the past, when you first came out of college, you obviously started, would hiring somebody is what I feel that's maybe coming from marketing school and would be able to help you get started with different ideas to get the snowball rolling, because that's what a lot of us will procrastinate, whether to buy a house where we're going to make $400 a month on cash flow. But so how long would we procrastinate if we had to come up with all the content of some sort of a marketing? That's what I meant. I thought it might. Have you ever tried that to speed the ball along instead of taking a while to get going?
Well, I haven't, because I've always done it myself, but you can hire people that will do that. Like JJ mentioned, I have gotten into a little bit of mentoring with that. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to necessarily be the person that's literally posting for you every day for the next 6 months, but I can kind of sit down and do an audit of like your business, your intentions, your goals, and give you, a social media calendar, give you the ideas, or tell you the accounts to go follow. And I mean, I can map something like that out for you. I'm sure there are plenty of other people that will do that as well. Or you can find people that'll literally, you can onboard them and have them physically doing it. I'm sure there are VAs that you could hire very inexpensively, as kind of like a marketing VA. So there are lots of different avenues that you can kind of explore. You probably just have to spend some time kind of exploring it and then figuring out, okay, what's my budget and what is it that I'm looking for from them?
And Christine, for those that aren't aware, people maybe either on the call or on YouTube, what's a chatbot?
So the chatbots are the kind of like viral robots that are basically feeding content out in various forms across the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So they, and I think I saw Marta, I think listed a couple, on the side, but, it's pretty incredible. There are like viral videos that you can see on Instagram or YouTube or whatnot, where you can literally watch them go, and they basically will create content for you. I mean, you can type in questions, you can ask for topics, you can, they'll write scripts for you. I mean, it's so advanced that there's controversy that, you know, school age kids are going to be using these to like write their reports and whatnot. So now they're trying
I've
to
heard about that.
Technology that will identify if like a chatbot wrote it. But a lot of professionals are using them to come up with content. So it's super common. They're really helpful. I mean, honestly, the AI tools that you can find online it's scary how great they are. And they're a huge opportunity for people like us that are trying to constantly come up with content, you know, to leverage those types of systems for inexpensive ways to, you know, come up with ideas and content for our social media.
Amazing. I mean, you know, I thought I knew computers and the internet technology, but things are exploding at an amazing pace. Raymond Vieira, you are on with Christine LaBounty. What's your question?
It's just more of a repeat. I'd spoken to Christine. Hey, how's it going? I spoke to you a little bit earlier this week after looking at your content, man. It's always on point. It's always on fire. Your makeup's always like flawless. Like everything's perfect. Like how much actual time a week do you spend, or like I'm looking at all the content and I'm thinking like, man, she must be in front of the video like all day long. She must be like Pace. And then I talked to a sub-2 student that's doing your marketing, and he's like, nah, you can compress it. So I think that would be a good thing for you to talk about actually how much time that you spend in front of and creating your content. And then just kind of, you know, yeah, just how long you're creating your content with.
Yeah. Great question. So I came back from actually sub-2 mastermind in November, and my intention was really to amp up my marketing and my content on social media. I've built my business to the success that it is literally through social media. So I know that my return on investment is extremely high. I actually work with a videographer. We go to like a studio locally. You do not need to do that. I'm just going to preface it with that for people that are like currently going to my Instagram to look at it. But I'm smart about when I film it, right? So, I've been on a system where I'm filming 8 like high end production, level shorts at a time. So I filmed 8 at a time in like 3 hours. I bring different outfits. And we do different like locations in the studio. So it looks like I've filmed these over days and we're knocking them out as quickly as we can. So that's a secret. And it is one thing that, you know, women unfortunately have to deal with. We have to make our hair and makeup look great, and you guys get to roll out of bed and you look wonderful as is.
Like this.
We require a little more behind it. I do not, when I am not filming or in front of clients, I literally am in sweats with zero makeup on. So but what I do is I use that as additional opportunities for content. So if you notice, I will post, not only do I have the professional looking like videos, but then I have like, you know, college kids that I'll hire for a couple $100, and they'll literally come to the shoot, and all they'll do is take my phone and do photos and videos of behind the scenes while I'm filming the like production level stuff. So then I have all this other, you know, content.
B-roll.
Yep. All this other content and things that I can post and create additional content out of it, whether it's a still photo, whether it's a collection of photos, videos, goofy stuff, bloopers, whatever it is. Right. And I just have it. I literally give them my phone for 3 hours. That's all their job is to do, is to create bloopers and make me look like silly and fun and relatable and whatever. And then I have the opportunity later to repurpose that, you know, into my social media. So again, it just gives me more stuff to use. Another thing that I would recommend, and I'm just starting to do this, I actually toured this studio the other day, our escrow departments here in California. So we're an escrow state. Our escrow departments, in trying to build business and get business from agents, some of them are actually creating like content spaces, content studios. So
I actually, and I could probably hold it up, but I went to one the other day because Brandon Duran is coming into town and he was talking about potentially filming stuff. And so this is like, I don't know if you can see it, but you can see how that escrow department has literally created like a set that you can drop in and film at. And so I was there the other day and I'm like, oh, great. I'm not even going to use the production level like videographer necessarily. I'll just take my iPhone, put it on a stand. I'll go sit there. I'm going to pretend like I'm talking to somebody, but the camera is just going to be on me. So it's going to look like interview style, kind of like what Vina Jetty does if you go to hers. And I'm just going to talk about certain topics and pretend like somebody's interviewing me. And really, it's just going to be me sitting there, like kind of like ad hoc, like spilling nuggets that I can then post on Instagram, right? And that's going to be literally no special videographer. I can go to CapCut, which is a software that you can download on your computer and iPhone. You can add in captions and you can do all of that very inexpensively, as opposed to using like a professional videographer. I do that because it relates to my business and I don't always have time to sit and like do this myself. But if you have the time or you have someone that can do it for you, that's a really great way to do it inexpensively. There are services like Video Husky is one that you can sign up on a subscription level base and you can send them raw video footage and they'll edit it. They'll get rid of the bloopers and then they'll add captions and spit it back to you. And you can sign up at different levels depending on how many videos you want to produce. And then it's just a matter of going to a space, like maybe at an escrow department, or maybe you create an at-home studio and you just film a bunch of videos and you can shoot it off. You can either edit it yourself on your computer via CapCut, or you can, send it off to like a Video Husky to edit it for you. And then you're not spending, thousands and thousands of dollars every month on high-end productions. You don't really need that, right? Pace grew his brand long before now everything is outrageously, impressive and his production level is crazy. But, that Pace, if you go back to some of his original stuff, I mean, he was doing it himself or having a kid like I was doing with my behind the scenes stuff that was just filming him. So don't overthink it. The importance is in the value and what you're sharing and the brand that you're creating around it. And then your content can evolve as you do.
Just real quick, and then we got to get to Seth the rapper. How many times are you actively posting? Because whenever we went to the mastermind, we got told 3 times a day. And then my mind got melted this last weekend and they were telling me like 6 to 8 times.
So
and do you have a time? Do you have like the perfect time where we're hitting people? Just real quick.
Yeah. So I do not post multiple times a day. That I know like Clever Investor did a talk at our mastermind. For those of you that don't know Ray, he's awesome too. He's one of my fellow mastermind brothers, but Clever Investor emphasized the 3 a day. Really until you get your Instagram like up and running, right? Until you start like getting a following. It's more to manipulate the algorithm so that it's pushing out your content to as many people as possible and people are seeing it. And then once you grow your Instagram and get enough content on there that it's content rich, and when people go there, they're going to see things that excite them, interest them, that want to compel them to continue following you, then you can kind of dial it back. I don't think 3, 6, 8 a day is sustainable for anybody unless that's literally all you're doing. So I wouldn't stress about that. I think the most important thing is consistency. And I know YouTube, especially TikTok, like the algorithms with these platforms, consistency is really important. So if you're going to post every day, post every day, post every other day, like make sure that you're not like posting for like 5 days in a row and then you don't post for 3 months. Like Instagram will punish you for that, right? So maintaining some consistency. This is where like a social media calendar, and you can literally like download one offline. A social media calendar, like maybe plan ahead. You can schedule posts. There are apps that will do it for you. You can create 5 videos, dump it on there and schedule when they go out. Instagram does punish you a little bit for that with the algorithm because Instagram wants to see you posting it yourself. Just something to consider. But for just like getting videos on there, if that's going to be what works for you, do it, or like build it into your schedule. Maybe at 7 a.m. you're posting, a new video every day, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, or whatever that looks like. As far as times of day, yes, there are analytics that you can look at. There are apps and websites that'll do it, but your Instagram account itself, if you go into like the analytics section of your profile, you can see information about like the demographic that's following you, the most active times of day, when you're getting the most engagement, and you can use that to start customizing, your social media strategy. And that probably is something worth paying attention to, because you're right. If you know that the most active time for your followers to engage with you is 2 p.m., you probably want to be posting around like 11:30 and get it on there and get like a little bit of engagement before like the flood of everybody like comes on to your profile. But you're getting super advanced, right? Just start posting and we can worry about analytics.
Mr. Seth Medina. Seth, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks, JJ.
Hey, thank you for joining us today. You got a question for Christine?
Maybe not so much a question, but more of kind of a statement of what I've kind of seen over the past few months.
Sure.
But I have had the pleasure of speaking with Christine lately, just via chat, regarding some of the content that we had spoke about back in November. And I think that just what I wanted to kind of say is that, and reiterate what's already been said in here, but is don't overthink it. And I know that, that's what I've been guilty of a lot of times with some of the stuff that I should be doing. Now, that's not to say that I haven't done other things since then. And so I've been trying to be more consistent, post more things, be more post more things that aren't necessarily real estate related. And so I wasn't doing a lot of that either. And so now that I've done that, and the things that I've done since November, I've seen a huge growth. I've probably doubled or tripled my following since November. And I know that with what I'm doing and what I need to do, it'll get better. But, kind of to Ray's point about, posting reels and whatnot. So I have so many recorded calls. I can't edit them. I don't have time to edit them, or I shouldn't say I don't have time. I need to make time, but I'm just sitting on so many videos that I'm not putting out because I need to condense them to that, like 90 seconds or whatever. And it's just hard for me to be consistent doing that.
Well, I want to say first, Seth is like one of the coolest people that I met coming out of Sub 2 Mastermind in November. He's another one of my favorites. And he is our rap star. I'm going to go ahead and expose him since he decided to come on and give me the opportunity to do it. So if you do not follow Seth, if you don't know him, I highly recommend you introduce yourself and go follow him on Instagram. I think he has started posting some of his music and it's incredible. He's incredibly talented. So I love seeing, your additional activity on your page. I just think you have the coolest backstory ever. In regards to what you said about, I think you're absolutely right. I think it's super common for us to overthink it. I'm the same way. You wouldn't believe the content I have sitting on my phone that I just like haven't edited or haven't posted because I'm over analyzing, like, does this make sense to post? Is this up to like the branding, like level that I want it to be at? Is this going to aesthetically look good on my page? Oh, I wore that outfit, like little stupid things that like, it's ridiculous, right? I should just be pushing it out. So that's super common. I think we all do that. And you're absolutely right. The most important thing is just getting it out there. As long as it's value-based or interesting, people will consume it, right? And you bring up a good point. My Instagram page is real estate only. I probably made the mistake when I got started 7 years ago of creating a separate business profile because I didn't want to inundate my database with real estate and just be shoving it down their throats. Now in hindsight, I wish there was a little bit more of my personal life on there because it's who I am. And I think people sometimes want to know more
about me than just like the last house I sold. So I think it's wonderful when people merge the two and you are able to share both personal and professional. It's another way of promoting your brand. Like people want to know that you have this really cool skill set and this background, that you have these beautiful children, that you know, this, that, and the other. They want to know more about it, you, and that helps further, you know, your brand as well. In regards to the content and the calls that you have, I would definitely work on identifying, you know, pulling out chunks that have like the little nuggets, right? Maybe it's just 15 seconds of like a nugget that was dropped. And again, things like CapCut, you can do it yourself. It's actually pretty easy to use. I had someone educating me on it the last couple of weeks. You can do it all on your computer. And because you're like music-based, like to me, it looks like an editing tool that somebody would use for music. So you actually might really enjoy that. But again, like a video husky would be another service that you could potentially use for those videos and say, hey, I have, you know, 15-minute videos or whatnot, go through and pull out like chunks of it and give me shorts that I can just start putting on my social media. So that might be a good option for you if you don't have the time or just the desire to sit there and like edit it down. Even on our phones, you can crop videos. So maybe you go find like the nuggets and then shoot it off to Video Husky and have them create cool like reels or videos with it with captions. So there are ways to, you know, try and start implementing and using that content. I think you're right. I think just getting out of your own way and not overthinking it is going to be key.
Totally. And huge shout out to everyone who blew me up to get on this call. And I think that shows the power of this community as well. And I think that shows the importance of connecting with everybody in this community, because I'll just say this last thing. I had a post yesterday that literally went crazy, and it was just a simple photo. And well, not necessarily a photo, but it was basically like a Monopoly board, and talked about, you know, owning properties. And most people, you know, basically just go around the board, collect their $200 and try to stay out of jail instead of owning assets, right? And so apparently it hit with a lot of people, but Pace picked it up and reposted it. And then Vina Jetty picked it up and reposted it. And then I would say probably another 50, 60, 70 people did that too. And it's still going today. Like people keep reposting it. And so yeah, it's like, you just never know. And I had no idea it was going to do that, but you know, it's awesome. And then, you know, just knowing that, you know, you have this community that is posting these kind of things alongside with you, like tag your friends, tag your people that you know in here, help to spread the word of whatever it is. I think that's pretty powerful doing that as well. So
absolutely. Yeah. Posting, tagging people, posting locations. Those are all really, really incredible ways to, again, manipulate the algorithm and get your profile out and get, you know, more interest and in front of more people. So I definitely recommend that. Collaboration over competition, right? Collaborate, tag, you know, film stuff, go to your local sub-2 groups and sit down with people, have conversations. If you're looking for content, it can be as simple as you sitting down with a coffee and just chatting with another sub-2 member about topics that are interesting or that your audience will find interesting, right? And dropping little nuggets along the way organically with a conversation. You can edit that down. You can pull content from that. Pace, Vina Jetty, like if you go to a lot of these big mentors, that's what they're doing. They're not just like necessarily just filming into a camera. Oftentimes it's like live and like real action, like real life. They're having conversations with people and they're dropping these nuggets and then they're implementing it into, you know, their social media.
Well, thank you, Christine. Thank you, JJ. Appreciate it.
Hey, Seth, thank you for joining us. I've sent you a friend request, my friend. Love to connect,
right.
Get, you know, my whole thing. And again, you know, Christine's wonderful. My part of networking is the relationship and coming across people that bring value, get to know them. As I've reached out to Christine, love to get to know you so we can see what we can do together as far as, and I always say, chase the relationship, don't chase the deal. So I'm looking forward to getting to know you, so we'll see where we can go. But again, thank you so much for joining us today. And your question was fantastic. I think we're gonna wrap it up for now and try and jump into the breakout rooms. If people want to connect with you, do you have a keynote or a slide or anything about, or just want to share your Instagram, your LinkedIn, your Facebook, whatever that might happen to be. What's the best way for people to reach you?
It's just Christine LaBounty _real estate. That's my Instagram. And then you can always shoot me an email if you have interest in just kind of a one-on-one chat, or, you know, if you wanted to talk more about your business and get specific with it with potential coaching or a call, you can certainly send me an email anytime. My email is just christine@christinelabounty.com. It's super easy to remember. You're welcome to reach out. And I do, if you go to my Instagram page, I have like a link tree and you can click into that and you can actually set up a call directly through there.
Fantastic. So I'm going to ask you a question. I usually ask all my guest speakers. Kind of ties into what your topic has been, actually. But my group's a networking group, and it's about, you know, building relationships. But for the investor, whether it's the new investor or the experienced investor who's looking to use social media to build their business, what's the importance of networking, or maybe joining a networking group like mine to accelerate or accentuate the growth of somebody's business?
It's everything. This, I think, not only is the real estate world a relationship-based world, but I think just in general, you know, connecting with people, building those relationships, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And we can all bring value to each other. I'm a firm believer of collaboration over competition. I do that even with my fellow agents. I love collaborating with fellow agents and seeing what they're doing and getting inspired by them and connecting with them and learning from them, right? So joining a group like this is absolutely hands down instrumental into your own personal and professional growth. It's why I went to Sub2 Mastermind. I have, like, all of my besties from Sub2 Mastermind are on this call. It's like makes me emotional because I walked away with like this family, and we lift each other up and we support each other and we inspire each other, and we succeed when the other succeeds, and we celebrate it, and we learn from each other, right? You know, we learn through our successes and our failures. And so, especially if you're new, you know, real estate, it's an incredible business, but it can be a lonely one because, you know, a lot of what you're doing is individually based. Unless you're on a team or have a partner, you're out there on your own. And so it's so important to remember the importance of connecting with one another. And so I 100% recommend getting dialed into a community like this. You will find mentors here, you will find friends here, partners, advocates, and that's really what you need and want on your path to success.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here. Unbelievable gold nuggets today. Invaluable. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of interaction with your YouTube recording. If you guys are watching on YouTube right now, please like Christine's video. Please, in the comments, put something below. Put your comments, maybe what part of what your takeaways were from her presentation. If you want to follow up with Christine, again, it's Christine LaBounty _real estate at Instagram is the best way to reach her. Myself, I've got a website, jjzizian.com. You can register for my group with the pulse sighting register now button. But, you know, like everything else, guys, get out there, make relationships, build your relationships, get out of your comfort zone, say hello to people. They're just as shy as you are. They're just as reserved as you are. So get out and meet people, make that effort. You're going to find that the feedback you get and the results are just outstanding. Again, thank you for joining us today. If you guys are on the call, stick around. We're going to go to the breakout rooms. And again, Christine, I guess we'll just tell them thank you very much, and we'll see you guys soon. Thank you.